truly urgent news from the Middle East. The war is not just expanding, it's entering an entirely new phase. Iran has declared total mobilization and is handing out weapons even to children as young as 12 years old. In fact, Iran has made an official decision to mobilize children as young as 12 years old into the army. These children are being stationed at checkpoints to face a potential American invasion first. Meanwhile, the first US Marines have arrived in the region, and they will be the ones carrying out the intervention. In addition, in this episode I will tell you everything that is known about the armed forces of Iran and all the military structures of this country, and why the regime in Tehran has to mobilize even children. My name is Alexei Peachy. Let's discuss this topic together. But before we start this episode, I ask you to support the work of this YouTube channel. You can do this by subscribing, by donating, or becoming a sponsor on YouTube. How to do this? All the links and details are in the description of this video or by the QR code on your screens. At the end of the episode, if you find this information important and necessary, you can support this channel, including financially. I would be grateful for that. And also, subscribe to my Telegram channel, Peachy News. The link is also in the description of this video. So, earlier, let me remind you, the Iranian publication Tasnim reported that in Iran, more than 1 million residents of the country were mobilized in case of a US ground invasion. According to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, among the Iranian ground forces, there is a growing desire to give the Americans a historic hell on the territory of the country. At the same time, according to the Tasnim agency, the authorities are receiving a massive influx of applications from Iranian youth who want to join the Basij paramilitary militia, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, and the regular army. And here I will quote one of the IRGC officials. The US wants to open the Hormuz Strait. We are ready both for the implementation of their suicidal strategy and for the strait to remain closed. But, as it turned out today, this was just a kind of warming the public up to the idea of mobilization in Iran. The regime in Tehran announced the start of mobilization for boys from the age of 12. This decision was explained by the claim that these very teenagers, 12-year-olds themselves, are eager to fight, so why deny them such an impulse? As a result, Iran's security forces are recruiting children from the age of 12 to guard checkpoints and perform other tasks in Tehran. This was reported by the publication Al Arabiya. And, as the media reports, after the war began, checkpoints appeared all over Tehran, and at some of them, teenagers with automatic rifles are already on duty. The reason for such statements was that the Iranian authorities began to launch a recruitment campaign in the capital. And this campaign is called Za-Iran, whose goal is to register those who wish to join the security forces in case of a US ground invasion. And now the IRGC says that 1 million people have already signed up. Moreover, the minimum age for recruits has been lowered to 12 years old. Yes, you heard that right. In Iran, they have started mobilizing from the age of 12. This isn't even, as they say, information from individual media outlets, sources, and so on. No. On Iranian state television, Rahim Nadali, who is a representative of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps in Tehran, publicly stated that people as young as 12 years old can register to help the Corps and the Basij Youth Volunteer Militia to stand up against the global bully. That's what they call the United States in Iran. According to him, the tasks of teenagers with automatic rifles include, quote, gathering data on security issues and conducting rapid patrols, as well as organizing nighttime motorcades in the city. At the checkpoints and Basij patrols, says Nadali, which you see all over the city, we had a very large number of volunteers among the youth and teenagers who wanted to take part. Considering the age of those wishing to join, we lowered the minimum age to 12 since children aged 12 to 13 want to take part in this war. This is a quote from an IRGC representative. Further, AFP reports that residents of Tehran told the publication's journalists that since the beginning of the war with the US and Israel, they have indeed seen armed young people in the city. Military pickups equipped with heavy weapons are blocking roads and searching vehicles. You drive by and just 100 meters ahead, several private cars with teenagers armed with automatic rifles are stopping vehicles again. A resident of Tehran also added that when a missile hits a place, the area is immediately cordoned off. In turn, these same teenagers with Kalashnikov rifles shout orders about where people should stand, what to do, and regularly fire warning shots into the air. Another resident of Tehran reported that at night, regime supporters simply go on rampages against those they believe do not support the regime. Teenagers with rifles are also used for such purposes. I should also note that the very same Basij movement, which is now recruiting these children, played a very active role in suppressing the protests in January. But what do we know about Iran's military power if the regime is already calling up even 12-year-olds into the army? It's worth noting that Donald Trump, as you know, has repeatedly stated that the war is essentially over, but Iran continues to strike Israel and other Persian Gulf countries. Iran also continues to keep the Strait of Hormuz closed, which affects global oil and gas prices, so Iran still has strength. Officially, according to the Council on Foreign Relations, the number of ground troops in the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps exceeds 150,000 servicemen. This is in addition to the Basij paramilitary force and the larger regular conventional army of Iran. Iran has also mobilized another 1 million citizens, but unofficially the number of people with automatic weapons may be much higher. As for the leadership, that's also a controversial issue. Israel stated that as a result of the initial strikes, 7 high-ranking officials from the Defense Ministry and the intelligence services were killed. They also struck the commander of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, Mohammad Pakpour. Since then, several IRGC leaders and several dozen officials from this corps have been killed. But on Thursday, Israel announced the killing of the commander of Iran's navy, Ali Reza Tangsiri. As a result, the Israelis claim that what remains is the so-called zombie regime, but the troops are still combat capable. As for the army's stockpiles and Iran's drones, there are also some questions here. American officials have repeatedly stated that there has been a sharp decrease in the number of missile and drone attacks by Iran, as well as an increase in the number of US strikes on military targets, which has already reached 10,000. But if we look at the dynamics of the attacks, we will see that yes, indeed. In the first week, Iran used 1,875 missiles and 2,245 drones. In the next 3 weeks, the dynamics changed, and it looks like this. Week 2, 240 missiles and 660 drones. Third week, 210 missiles and 530 drones. Fourth week, 205 missiles and 480 UAVs. Well, that is, in the last 3 weeks there are differences from the first week, but if we look at just the last 3 weeks, the differences are minor. And apparently, after the hyperactivity of the first days of the war, the Iranians set a planned number of launches for themselves for the weeks ahead and are sticking to this schedule, meaning they've decided to play the long game. Take another look at this trend and it's clear that there was a spike in the first week and then everything more or less leveled out. Let's move on. According to US intelligence estimates, Iran's ground and air forces are among the largest in the region, but they have limited training and outdated equipment. It's noteworthy that this war could mean, by the way, the last days of Iran's F-14s. The US supplied these aircraft to the Iranians in the 1970s before the Islamic Revolution, and they've still been in use there until now. Right now, Iran is transferring additional military personnel and air defense systems to Kark Island because this island could become the target of a US ground invasion. Moreover, in the event of an escalation of the conflict on land, American troops could become vulnerable to a range of missile and drone threats given the proximity of this island to the mainland. As for the Iranian Navy, US Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth stated that since the beginning of military strikes at the end of February until today, more than 150 Iranian Navy ships have been sunk. But the Hormuz Strait is still blocked, as Iran is using hundreds of small fast boats to attack larger vessels in the Persian Gulf, and also has a network of underground bunkers on land that likely survived the bombings. And most importantly, in a US report from 2017, naval mines were identified as the most important component of Iran's strategy in the Hormuz Strait. So Iran fully understands that if it mines the Hormuz Strait, it will remain a huge problem for months to come. But Iran understands that this will also be a problem for itself, but it is ready to go for such an escalation just to preserve its regime. I'll leave it at that. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments below this episode. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like. And friends, if you want to support the work of this YouTube channel, I will of course be grateful to you for that. You can do this through donations, YouTube sponsorship, or paid subscriptions on different platforms. Choose any option that's convenient for you. All the links and details are in the description for this video. That's all for now. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye, everyone.